Well, where do we find ourselves now as Chicago Bulls fans? Back here in the trade rumors. I don't know why I should believe it's going to be any different this time, but anyway, we're here to talk about Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. I think it's interesting that now the Bulls are actively shopping these players, and they're apparently really trying to make an effort to get rid of them, so I figured we could go through every single team in the NBA and figure out realistically where can they even send these guys, and we'll just mock up some trades. And what better place to do that than Fanspo? Fanspo is an awesome tool to use for all these little like mock trade things and everything. They've got a lot of the rules in place already, and they keep things pretty up to date for the most part. So what we're going to do is we're literally going to go through every single NBA team and figure out where can we send Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic. But before we even do that, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, right? Yeah, I think most of you know that at this point. It's a tough existence being a Bulls fan, and I try not to do too much just like Bulls coverage on my channel because I feel like because I'm a fan, I leave a little bit more room for emotional decision making rather than like logical decision making, even though I like to think that I stay pretty based in reality for most of my videos. I want to keep things as realistic as possible at all times. I don't want to bring emotions into too many things, but look, at the end of the day, I am a little bit emotional about this, and as a Bulls fan, I've been frustrated for quite a long time. They continually just don't go get the right players. They hold on to assets too long. They brought a team that didn't make a ton of sense together to begin with, and it just, I don't know, it really frustrates me. And so now we're in an interesting spot, right? Where during the offseason, people were like, oh, we can't trade for Vucevic, you can't trade for Zach Lavine. These two players are actually valuable at this point. Zach Lavine is having a very good offensive season, again, where you look at him and you go, yep, this is one of the most unguardable guys in basketball. No doubts about that. Like, hasn't lost a step at all. Dude is an absolute bucket from everywhere on the court. Nikola Vucevic is also having a really good season for Nikola Vucevic. Defensively, still struggles, right? That's still always going to be his thing. He's not the best defensive player. He's physical as all hell, which helps a lot as a center, but defensively he gets lost in schemes sometimes. He's not the most mobile. He's not much of a rim protector, right? But three-point shots falling this year. He's good in the post. He's incredibly available. There's not many guys that can go get you like 20 points and 10 rebounds on any given night, and Vucevic can and will. So you've got options, right? I mean, especially with the center position, we all know how many teams like need like center help and stuff. So we're gonna mock up some things for Vucevic. We're gonna mock up some things for Lavine. So let's start talking about it. By the way, like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel. So if you comment, I will respond. It's that plain and simple. But anyway, go join the Discord as well. Links is always in the description. Let's figure out how to end my suffering. The interesting thing about the Bulls too is like, where can you send these guys, and like what do you even want back, right? Because the Bulls aren't just in this gross spot where it's like, okay, we got an interesting young piece in Giddey, cool, Kobe White's whatever, right? Like, Kobe's fun, I guess. Patrick Williams isn't becoming anything. Lonzo, I don't know if he'll ever get on the court. Desumu's cool. Buzelis is interesting. Dalen Terry's interesting. Julian Phillips, interesting. Nothing concrete though, right? So like, I don't want to feel like in these trades I'm limited by any position, right? Like, Josh Giddey's probably the most interesting player on this team, but look, Josh Giddey's just not going to be useful without guys like Zach Lavine or Vucevic on the team, right? Because he's setting other people up. So we just got to get assets if nothing else. And if we look at the draft pick situation that we have a Portland pick that we're not going to get this year. And then, yeah. And look, their pick situation's just an absolute disaster. It makes me really, really upset. Is it the Magic that have their pick? Let me go check. I think it's the Magic. Is it? Where are the Bulls pick? Chicago's first round pick for 2025 is protected 1 through 10 with the San Antonio Spurs. Is that the DeRozan trade? Is that how that ended up happening? It must be 1 through 8 after that. And so what pick would we currently have? I'm pretty sure we'd have a top 10 pick right now. If I go to NBA standings here, where are we currently at? We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here roughly, and then we've got 7 wins. So yeah, we're just barely within that and keeping it for the time being, which means we're borderline of not getting it as well. But we could use some draft picks. This is a good draft class. If there's an opportunity to get a 2025 pick in here, we will absolutely do so. But starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't need any of these players, right? Cleveland is rolling. They're totally fine. Boston Celtics, they're not able to do anything, right? There's no possible way. Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic are going to be the talk of a lot of trade stuff this year. A lot of trade stuff. And they could use a score. They could absolutely use a score. Do they need Vucevic particularly? One could argue yes. I'd say that they have a solid rotation of big men. None of them elite by any means. Wendell Carter, very solid. I feel comfortable putting Goga Bitadze out on the court at this point. I like Mo Wagner out there, so I don't think they need to go out and make a move like this. I don't think that helps them enough. Zach Lavine, on the other hand, makes a ton of sense to them. The Orlando Magic need shot creators, of someone that can just go out there and get some buckets, because everyone else plays within kind of like system basketball and everything. You're seeing Franz take over like a lot of the scoring and everything, but even he's very limited in the types of shots that he takes. It's pretty much step backs, getting to the rim, right? Things like that. And, that's great and all, but we need someone that can be a little more creative, draw a lot more attention on the team. So let's start off with figuring out how we can get Zach Lavine onto this team. It has to start off with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, right? I feel like it has to. They don't necessarily need him. They can dump this salary already that has not worked well onto the Bulls, right? And I bet you we can get a first-round pick because of that out of them as well. So you send him over to the Bulls. Cole Anthony's another name. Jonathan Isaac's also some money, right? I don't think they're giving up Jonathan Isaac. I think Magic fans would be irate with me if that happens. So let's just, how does this work in and of itself? Recently signed, so yeah, that works in and of itself. Okay, I think we've got something already. There's a Denver first round pick here. Orlando Magic, you got to give me your first round pick, though, for Zach Lavine. You need to. And I think if you're a Magic fan, you'd be thrilled to do that. Because look, you're trying to get better right now. You take Zach Lavine right now. He's still got 3 years on the contract and everything. Dude gets buckets. Like, this trade in and of itself, I'd probably do that, like, because this isn't going to be a great draft pick anyway at this point. So I'd probably do that. Maybe you throw in some second round picks or something like that. But for Zach Lavine, as a Bulls fan, I'll take back Cole Anthony. I'll see if he turns into anything. Why not throw another fucking point guard on the team, right? Why do I care? And then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will eat the salary. Why not? I mean, that's what we should probably do at this point, is just eat some salary and take on some other players. It's cool. Why not? Let's just play all point guards on this team at this point. But get a draft pick out of it. Like I said, maybe you convince them to throw in some second round picks or something like that. I don't think that's unreasonable by any means. If there was a way to get like a Jet Howard out of this, that would be really cool. I don't know how you would necessarily pull that off. Is there anything else that like Orlando really needs? Maybe like some wing play or something like that. Good for you. The Bulls have none of that. Well, maybe you send over like a Torrey Craig or something like that to go along with it. I don't know if that means that you get a Jet Howard back, though, necessarily. Just sending over Torrey Craig at the very least probably gets you like some second round picks or something like that. So you might do that at the very least. But I think that's good for the Magic. I think that something can work there. What about the Knicks? No way, right? There's no conceivable way that we can actually accomplish that. There's no shot. So no. The Bucks. The Bucks. I don't think a trade is happening between these two teams. Like, there's always those things, right, of teams being like, or fans being like, there's no way those two teams would trade. Look, teams definitely would if the right deal was there. I don't really see it happening. And like, what would have to happen? They'd have to trade like Middleton or something like that. There's not really a point to the Bulls taking on him. So I'm going to say they are out of contention for it. The Miami Heat don't need Zach Lavine because Tyler Hero kind of fills that role for him, right? Is he the same scorer that Zach Lavine is? No, even though like points per game wise this year, does it say 20.8 points per game? Zach Lavine 19? Okay, so yeah, pretty much the same in terms of that. But Zach Lavine's obviously much more dynamic in the different ways that he can score, right? Even though Hero's probably a better playmaker at this point, just because Lavine doesn't do a ton of that and the Bulls don't run a very complex system. But is there a reason to put Vucevic on this team? Nope, don't think so. The Atlanta Hawks, no, there's no reason for them to be doing that. I don't think a Zach Lavine, Trae Young backcourt is something that they want to invest in. They're actually on the same contract, funny enough, and I don't think Vucevic is making them much better, so we're moving on from the Atlanta Hawks as well. The Detroit Pistons. Okay, interesting. Is there a world where Zach Lavine is interesting to them? I think they like Duren a lot, so I don't think Vucevic necessarily is someone that they'd be keen to adding. I don't think they're opposed to adding vets by any means, and Vucevic might be a better fit for them right now given their current roster and the lack of spacing. Vucevic helps that a little bit, right? A little more refined on just like intangibles in the game. But looking at this team, what kind of offer do they even throw together to get a Zach Lavine? Like, is this something where they just throw Tim Hardaway Jr. and like beef stew at him? Like, is this something that can reasonably happen? And we'll talk about the logic of this in just a second, but okay, so this is actually doable, which is kind of interesting. You would then have to throw in some picks, right? Because you're getting back some buns right here. You can't even get back this year's pick, so you'd have to send like a 2027 first or something like that over to them, which why would you do this? It's not a great reason necessarily. You'd probably throw some other seconds in there too. Why not, right? But I'll let you guys figure that out. Why would you do this trade? I made a case in the offseason that the Pistons should make a move like this for like a Brandon Ingram, just if anything else to signal to the organization and the roster that like, look, we are trying to win some basketball games. And like the Pistons are much more competitive this year, so you'd like to think they know that at this point, but it wouldn't be the worst idea for the organization to make a signal like that. I'm not saying this makes a ton of sense for them. I think this makes them instantly a better basketball team, and you don't have to give up much to do it. The Bulls take on some contracts. They can try out another big man in Beef Stew. Tim Hardaway Jr. is on the team for the season. Can go get some buckets next to Giddey. You can just run off screens and everything cool. Bulls get a couple picks maybe out of it. So I don't know. Not the worst thing in the world. Brooklyn Nets. There's no reason for them to take on any of those players. They're selling everybody. The Charlotte Hornets. Okay, Zach Lavine isn't needed on this team. We've got enough dominant ball handling play, but they need a center. They do need a center. Mark Williams, we'll see what ends up happening with him. Obviously, we like Nick Richards a lot, but he's out for a little bit. If the Hornets are, and they've made a lot of indications that, look, they are trying to win some basketball games this year. Unfortunately, Grant Williams went down for them, and he was a solid player for them for the most part. It's going to be tough, right? Even though I think they're moving in a good direction, trying to win more games, I don't know what they would do. Does it make sense to add a Vucevic? Probably not. That seems like too much of a buy for them. I'm just looking at like contracts and stuff. Like you throw a Cody Martin, like what do you have for picks and stuff? You don't have the greatest pick arsenal. You have a lot of second round picks, which maybe that's enough if you throw in a young player or something like that. But who would we even want to get? Because like Trey Mann, you don't need any more guards on this team. I doubt they're giving up Mark Williams in this or Nick Richards. Not giving up Brandon Miller, Josh Green most likely, so probably nothing there. The Indiana Pacers, they technically need some center help, like coming off the bench and stuff like that. They did just add Moses Brown, who had a good first game at the time of recording this. I'm actually pushing this recording up. I was going to do it for Wednesday. I'm recording this Monday night, and instead I'm going to have it come out Tuesday, because why the hell not? I'll put out the little sneak peek rookie grading video tomorrow, but Moses Brown played good in his first game. I don't see a world where either of these players fits on this team. So we're going to move on. Toronto Raptors, is there any reason for them to be buying anybody? No. Philadelphia 76ers, there's definitely a universe for this. I don't think there's a universe, I should say, where adding Zach Lavine makes some sense for this team. Can they do it? I don't actually think so. I don't think you can put together like Caleb Martin. No, there's no freaking way. There's no way. So no, we're moving on from the Sixers as well. Washington Wizards, there's no reason for them to do anything. Let's work our way back up from the bottom now to the top with the West. The New Orleans Pelicans. DeJounte Murray's coming back, right? DeJounte Murray's coming back. The rest of the roster, no idea. By the way, did y'all see that Zion Williamson tattoo video? Dude looked like he was getting Obelisk the Tormentor, like, tattooed on his back. Y'all didn't know I played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up. My older brother used to play, so I used to watch him play. But dude was getting a wild back tattoo, and they were, like, in this hype video they were doing for his tattoo, also, like, making him pasta and chicken, which it just didn't look good. Zion had a bit of a gut and in the video, and I was just kind of like, who let this get on the internet? I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems like he's pulling a James Harden. He's like trying to get off the team at this point. So I don't know. Vucevic makes a ton of sense on this team. So let's just hypothetically say they're healthy, right? Or maybe they say, we want to go at it one more time next year. We're going to re-sign Brandon Ingram or something like that. We want to go one more time. Yves Missy, not your starting center yet. Probably not going to be for a couple years. They have a guy in CJ McCollum that they can trade, right? It makes a ton of sense. Can the Bulls actually even just like do this straight up? I mean, I'm curious if this even works for the Bulls. Yeah, no, they couldn't. So they'd have to throw something else back. That really puts a damper on things. So I don't know how you execute something like this. So what? We got to throw back like, Jesus Christ, how do you even do this? Like Lonzo Ball like has to go back too, and then you take back like a little bit more money. Is that how Is that how this works? I mean, it's one year of Lonzo Ball, right? I mean, who the hell cares? And maybe he even plays well for you, right? So what do we got now? What do we got now? So they need to cut $8 million. Do we have somebody that's worth like $8 million to send over? No, maybe we can package some people. They're not trading Trey Murphy. They might give you Jordan Hawkins if you give no picks back, but then they're giving up a lot of guard play. Nope, I don't see a world where this is happening, at least this way. So let's scrap the CJ McCollum aspect of it. Is there another way that we can get Vucevic on this team? Obviously, there's a Brandon Ingram play in here for Zach Lavine. I don't think that makes them any better or worse, so I'm going to just say you'd rather just have the 6'9 guy that can handle the ball, just being honest. So you trade Vucevic over. Are they trading Herb Jones? No way. They're not trading Trey Murphy. I don't see a way where this happens, right? I mean, if they just send back some young dudes, right? Like, let's say we even get like a little bit close to that, like to like 10 million or something like that. So they send over like a Hawkins or something like that, and damn, it drops off a lot after that. And like Jeremiah Robinson Earl, there's no way that makes sense, right? There's no way. Yeah, no, they have to cut 13 more million. So Pelicans, no, not gonna happen. There's no point anyway. They're so far towards the bottom, right? Utah Jazz, do we pair back up Zach Lavine and Lauri Markkanen? Look, the Jazz will always make a winning move if they can make a winning move, which all the respect in the world to them. I don't think there's a reason for them to take on the salary or anything, so I'm going to presume that they're just not interested. They don't really need Vucevic on the team, so no, we're gonna move on from the Jazz. Portland Trailblazers, no, I don't see a conceivable way that makes sense. Sacramento Kings, they have tried to get Zach Lavine on so many occasions, but they have a Malik Monk now, and they have a DeMar DeRozan, probably not needed anymore. Adding Vucevic to the team, to come off the bench? No, doesn't make sense, The Spurs, what could the Spurs do with players like this? Maybe the Spurs want to try and win this year. It doesn't seem like they necessarily care a bunch to, with some of the ways that they're playing this year. I'm looking at you, Wembanyama, 13 like 3-pointers a game. And like Devin Vassell, like getting like weird inconsistent minutes to start the year and stuff like that. I know they're kind of working him back in, but it still seems odd to me at the very least. So looking at this team, adding Vucevic makes no sense. That's obvious. Does adding Zach Lavine to this team add anything to them? Why would they want to take on 3 years, $43 million when they're building something? They're going to take on more rookies and stuff like that this next year. No, doesn't make sense either. And like, this is what I'm showing you guys. Like, I'm trying to go through the logic of all of them so that we can like really get an understanding for like each and every team, right? Timberwolves. I'm sure the Timberwolves would love to do something. I'm sure they would, but that's not going to happen. Not with their salary situation. The Mavericks, nope, no conceivable way. No, their team's nice. Their team's good as hell. The Suns, there's no way they can make a trade. Salary-wise, doesn't make sense. The Grizzlies, okay. How does Nikola Vucevic get on this team? Obviously, they'd love to have a center. They'd love to have Jaren Jackson play power forward. They just think that would be good for them, and they've got some tradable contracts, right? So Nikola Vucevic, go over here. And by the way, like Zach Edey, just not ready to play starting center yet, right? And otherwise, like Jay Huff, nice center for them. Laravia's, I like Laravia. He might even be in this trade for all I'm worried about, because they don't like to use Laravia a ton, right? And Gigi Jackson's going to come back at some point. So is Vince Williams. So Laravia might be the odd man out there. Aldama's solid for them. Edey, like I said, just not ready yet, and that's totally fine. So you plug Vucevic in, you got a nice starting center now that spaces the floor for John Morant. He gets a ton of rebounds, right? Guards the opposing center for Jaren Jackson. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, you could just do a Marcus Smart swap right now. You don't need Marcus Smart on the team because you have Scottie Pippen Jr., who's been so good for you, right? Or you can move some of the other big guys, because then you kind of have a surplus of them. So you move Brandon Clark over there, right? And this is going to involve you needing to move some draft picks or something like that. You could probably throw over like a John Conchar or something, but I'm going to say we want like Laravia. The Bulls need more forwards and stuff like that. Laravia can handle the rock a little bit, and I find him interesting. So where does this get us? Does this get us to a good enough trade? It does. Okay, okay. You guys give us a pick then as well, and we're solid right now. And we'll give you, you get a 2025 top 8 protected pick. How about that? Something like that. I don't know. I think that makes some sense. The Grizzlies get a way better player, right? They give up Laravia, who, look, they've just kind of they've got too many other people to develop at that position. Bulls get Brandon Clark to play big man minutes for them this year with Jalen Smith. Who the hell really cares, right? See if you get something out of him. You get a pick out of it. I think that's fine. I'm cool with this. I'm totally cool with this as a Bulls fan. If that's what they got for Vucevic, cool. That I'm happy with it. Is there other players that I'd like? Sure, I'd love to get a GG Jackson or something like that. They're not giving up Jalen Wells, obviously, who's having an awesome season. Maybe throw a Conchar in there instead of, like, I don't know, but seems to make sense that they'd want to get off one of their bigs or something like that, and they could still use Marcus Smart to go get something else. So I don't know, Grizzlies fans, if you exist out there, let me know. I know Grizzlies fans exist. Y'all show up for those games, man. I'll keep it real with you. Y'all show up for those. Clippers. There's a world where Zach Lavine ends up on this team, right? There is. There 100% is. How do you do it is the question. So PJ Tucker is going to be involved. That's almost a certainty, right? So PJ Tucker heads over to the Bulls. Terrence Mann almost certainly has to head over to the Bulls. Where are we at this point, right? The Clippers recently signed. He can't be traded. Hard cap. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Remove $14 million more dollars. Okay. So you could do Norm Powell. Norm Powell's so good, though. Norm Powell is so good. I want to view his profile and his stats and everything. Can we get a, this is 2023, 2024 stats. I was going to say, when I saw it in, like, the corner here, I was like, that doesn't make much sense here, these 13.9 points. But, so Zach Lavine's points per game must be higher than 19.5. I was going to say, that makes much more sense. Man, how do we eliminate more money? You would have to do Norman Powell, and they're not going to do that. Norman Powell's playing awesome, so that might be dead. That one might be dead as well. I don't think the Clippers trade can happen. They don't need Vucevic. They have Zubac. Zubac has been awesome for them this season. The Nuggets. Ooh, okay. So there is an obvious one here, which is a Michael Porter Jr., Zach Lavine swap. You throw in something else, you make it happen. You get more of a shot creator in Zach Lavine. I don't think Zach Lavine is instantly better for the team, though, than just having Michael Porter Jr. As Michael Porter Jr. knows how to play off Jokic. He does a really good job of it. He's having a good season. I don't know. If I'm a Nuggets GM, I'm not trading Michael Porter Jr. for Zach Lavine. I'm just not. And you're locking yourself up even harder salary cap wise. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I know. I'm sure you might want to, but I can't. Lakers, okay, yeah, there's something here, right? And it involves point guards, because of course it does. The Bulls need all the point guards. I've told you guys this before. I think both of these guys probably work, right? Let's start off with Vucevic. This one's probably easy. Nikola Vucevic goes over. Anthony Davis gets to play like the power forward or something like that, and still gets to be like a rim defender. He's been playing a lot more outside this year anyway. You have a ton of size on the court. That's awesome. So who do you send over? Do you send over like Rui Hachimura to the Bulls? Because why not? And then like some picks. You don't even give us a first necessarily. You give us a couple of second round picks, and then something like that should in theory work. Okay, they need to cut $3 more million because they're like hard pressed for it. Fair enough. Oh, guess what? There's a guy by the name of Christian Wood you can send over to the Bulls as well. Whoop-de-doo-da-day. There you go. It's perfect. It's a perfect trade. Perfect numbers to the dot. You don't even have to do anything else crazy. Apparently the Lakers actually saved like 36K somehow, but fair enough, right? If I'm a Bulls fan, fair enough. I get to play around with Rui Hachimura a little bit. Christian Wood won't be on the team past this year. I got some picks in 2025. It's a hard existence being a Bulls fan. I don't know. I think that's fine. Okay, but let's undo some of this stuff, right? I would like send some of these picks back. What else can we do, though, for Zach Lavine? How do we get Zach Lavine on this team? Vucevic, you come back. This one's going to be a little bit harder. Zach Lavine's probably just more valuable. It's got to start with probably like a D'Angelo Russell, right? And then do you do like Rui as well? Or do you do like an Austin Reeves? Reeves has been pretty good for them this year, but does he become a little redundant because they have Dalton Connect as well? Reeves hasn't been the most efficient. Like, where does this even get us, right? They'd need to cut another $11-ish million. That's where Gabe Vincent Vincent comes along, but it's still not enough, is it? No, this is probably a 3-teamer somehow, where like the Trailblazers get involved, or the Wizards somehow, or the Hornets. One of these other teams has to get involved to make something like this work, right? I don't know. Do I want to like explore that quick? Why the hell not? Who's a team with cap space, right? The Wizards. Let's bring the Wizards in on this. How do we do this? How do we do this? Is there any way we can send D'Angelo Russell to the Wizards instead, by the way? Because that would be dynamic. That would be very dynamic. Okay, let's just think this all through for a second. Let's think this all through. So we're starting off from the bottom with Zach Lavine. He's on the Lakers, right? They need to cut a bunch of money in order to make this happen. D'Angelo Russell goes over to the Wizards because the Bulls don't need that bullshit right now. We have enough point guards, but I did say we want more point guards, so you know what? We'll keep that in mind. Moving on. The Bulls take on like Gabe Vincent or something like that. We're clearing some money. Jared Vanderbilt also comes over to the Bulls because they just don't use him at this point anyway, it doesn't seem. I don't want to hear anybody say, throw Jalen Hood-Schifino in it because I saw he has a 2.5-star value on 2K. You're a dummy. Move on. Go find another video to watch. Jalen Hood-Schifino, though, sure, we can send him over to the Bulls. I don't know. I don't think he's very good. They didn't even pick up his contract anyway, so he's just gone at the end of the year. Okay. Let me just see. Yep, I know they can't do it, but this, okay, there's something here. So the Bulls, then, they gotta move some more money. How do we also get Valanciunas on the Lakers then? Because they'd love to have both, right? How does this work? So they need to cut another $8-ish million, send that back to the Wizards somehow? Can we do that? Can Rui Hachimura? Okay, let's think this through. Send Jalen over to, because the Bulls have to get something of value too. Send him to the Wizards instead, because why not? They can just cut him at the end of the year. Rui comes over to the Bulls, right? Okay, what do we got now? Do we have something that works now? They need to cut $1.2 million. Just cut Jared Butler, okay? That's my solution for this. Patrick Baldwin Jr. is on the team. Okay, how can we do this? So Patrick Baldwin Jr., Anthony Gill makes $2 million. Can we move somebody else off the Bulls to make this happen? Let's think this through. Who could the Bulls move off of as well? Like Torrey Craig could move over to the Wizards in this for $2.8 million. That's probably not going to work then, because then Gill comes over to the Bulls, and that's still going to say it's a little bit short, right? Oh, no, this works. Okay, so we've got a framework. Does this even make sense? The Lakers get the two best players in the trade, maybe the two most valuable. D'Angelo Russell's really good. The Wizards get a point guard, which I actually think could be interesting with him and Brogdon. They just need people that can, like, operate, right? Although, now that I think about it, having Jordan Poole, D'Angelo Russell, and Kyle Kuzma on a team sounds catastrophic. And I'm so here to watch it, so we're going to push it through anyway. Jalen Hood-Schifino's on the team. Why not? Torrey Craig probably wants to blow his brains out by playing for this team. So, sorry, Torrey Craig. Maybe they'll just buy you out, and honestly. Bulls get back Rui. Cool. Get back Jared Vanderbilt because they did. They get another point guard. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Anthony Gill. Cool. We need draft picks now. Somebody needs to give us draft picks. They're definitely giving us this 2029 first round pick for this. That's going back to here. And then some second round picks are going over to the Wizards in this one, I would have to say. Right. I think that's fair. Because who did the Lakers all give up in this? They gave up Rui. They gave up D'Lo. That's a first round pick is probably fair in this. Do they have to give up some seconds? Because D'Angelo Russell did go there, and that's a decently valuable player in and of itself. I don't think the Wizards got to give up anything. I think maybe I'm a spited Bulls fan or something like this. But this, why not? So what did the Bulls give up? They gave up Zach Lavine and Torrey Craig, and they got back some junk in a first-round pick. Sorry, Rui Hachimura, you're not junk. But this is what I see. Okay, we got a little too crazy with this one. Let's round this puppy out for these last couple teams, right? Houston Rockets, nope, none of them are needed. Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm sure they could do it with all their assets, but they're not going to. Golden State Warriors, there's something here, right? We can do something with Zach Lavine, and they should have in the offseason. They should have. Do you just throw Vucevic on the team? I don't care what anybody says. The center play for the Warriors hasn't been very good. So does adding Vucevic really help, or does adding Zach Lavine help more, right? They'd have to move on from Andrew Wiggins, who honestly is having a pretty good season. What is it? It's like 17 a game or something like that. He's efficient from the field, playing good defense again. So you would hope it's a little bit more given the team that they have, but is this a move where they move Kuminga, right? You don't have to give up any picks in this one. Is this something where you just do Zach Lavine? He goes over there. Do you trade Wiggins? I don't think you'd really want to. And then you move... Jesus Christ, Melton's got a torn ACL. I don't even think you can do that. So you got to filter like all these guys over here. That probably doesn't even work financially. No, not even close. Not even close. They need to cut $13 million more. So you'd have to do Wiggins somehow. I don't think adding Zach Lavine warrants moving Andrew Wiggins necessarily. I don't think that's a good enough increase in like what you're actually going to get like wins loss wise throughout the year, especially because the Warriors are the 1 seed right now, right? Like what they're doing is technically working, even though we look at their roster and we go, how the hell are they doing this, right? I don't think adding Zach Lavine and swapping Andrew Wiggins is necessarily worth it. Like I think it's an improvement. I don't think it's enough of an improvement to warrant taking on all that money in a singular player, right? Even if the timelines match up with Steph Curry, I don't know, and you have Buddy Hield who's in a conflicting position, so I don't think so. If you wanted to, you could do like a Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga thing or something, send him over to the Bulls. The Bulls might have to throw in a pick for that one, honestly. But is there a Vucevic deal here that makes some sense? Could we move Vucevic over there easily enough? Because his contract's not that bad. So you move him over there, right? Gary Payton, who only plays well when he's on the Golden State Warriors, comes over to the Bulls, right? And then what else? This isn't a Kuminga move. This is more of a Moses Moody type move over here. That might just work. Okay, no, they need to cut $5 million more. Fair enough. You've convinced me. We get DeAnthony Melton as well somehow, and then we try this, and we've got this nonsense here. So that's fine. It just has to happen later in the season. You give us some second round picks for Vucevic as well, because you gave us Moody, who's on a who's a younger player that could turn into something. The Bulls get a wing to play with. Give us 2 second round picks. Why not? Maybe it's just 1. I don't know. And that's the trade I've drawn up. So Vucevic can get on the team. Does that help them a ton? Probably, honestly. Like, it gives them a better rebounding presence and stuff like that, and someone to actually clash with some of the other big centers in the West. But hey, that's what I drew up for y'all. Those are my trade ideas for Vucevic and Zach Lavine. In conclusion, how many teams did we figure they could go to? The Magic, and then a whole bunch of nopes. Maybe the Pistons, we determined. Not really anything else here. Not really. We said maybe the Warriors for Vucevic. The Lakers could probably make it work in either direction. Clippers weren't really worth it. Grizzlies could take on Vucevic. Otherwise, it's tough, y'all. It's tough to make these trades. I do think that there's interest at this point. I think there's interest in Zach Lavine and Vucevic. They're good players. It's just hard to make trades nowadays, guys. It's just with the way that the aprons work, it's so complicated. And if you mess things up, I don't know. I feel like if you're trading for a guy of Zach Lavine's contract, like, you have to be like, okay, this is what we needed to get us over to the championship level, or you're like the Orlando Magic and you just desperately need scoring or something like that. So that's my presumption at the end of the day. But I want to hear your guys' comments down below. You guys let me know your trade ideas. Go in the Discord. We've got a spot to talk about trades. When people post things there, we all discuss them. I think it's a cool place at the end of the day. But hey, appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.